Good afternoon. Yes, awesome. Hey, everybody. If everyone wants to grab a seat, we're going to get started. We have a pretty full agenda and just a big welcome. Thank everyone for coming to our collaborative for 2026. Believe it or not, it was November of last year where we had our last collaborative meeting. And in that meeting, we actually unveiled our Regional Resilience Action Plan. We had a launch event in October. November, we had our collaborative meeting, and we were giving a sneak peek on some of our collaborative work that we've been working on, mainly phase 2, and we were kind of hinting at what's to come. And so a lot of today's agenda, you'll see if you grab, there's agendas in the back and sign-up sheets if you haven't done so already. Please sign in and let us know that you're here, but we are going to have all kinds of discussion today. We have a guest speaker, and we've got some great updates that we're going to be talking about, and then we'll have time at the end to kind of share what we're doing in each of our regions. So again, welcome. I'm Jessica Beach with the City of St. Augustine. I'm the city's Chief Resilience Officer, and I partner with Ann Coglianese. She's a co-chair for the steering committee for the Resilient First Coast Collaborative in conjunction with Farah and her team at the Northeast Florida Regional Council. So a big welcome. Thank you, Farah, and her team getting all this set up for us. This is a really nice space. So we're going to get started. I think we've already done introductions on that, but also agenda items. Like I mentioned, it's going to be a pretty packed agenda, and we have a lot of announcements. There's a lot of things happening, and so I'm going to flip it to this next slide and turn it over to Farah to run through some opportunities that are coming up. And I'm going to put a plug in for the Take Action. Obviously, we're in the legislative session, so there's a lot of things happening, but there is some support for funding the Resilient Florida program, which a lot of our communities participate in through planning grants and implementation plan program for funding, and so they're trying to get it fully funded. So there's more information on that, but Farah, I'm going to let her cover all of the other things.
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, again, welcome everyone. I'm Farah Ilami. I'm the Regional Resiliency Manager at the Northeast Florida Regional Council. And I'm going to go quickly through these announcements because I do want to leave us so much time in order to get to our agenda items. But I'd be remiss if I didn't make these announcements because they are important. So the first one I want to mention is our Multi-Regional Planning and Mitigation Assessment Project. Many of you are familiar with that. Some of you may not be. I'm not going to go into detail on that project, but we're coordinating with all of our local governments. Some of you we've had individual meetings with to coordinate with you and your stakeholders about which areas in your counties, which communities, and which specific sites are in need of additional solutions to remediate stormwater and flooding conditions. So we are working on that project to develop individual solutions for those. And we're finalizing that project list. The regional project list is going to be finalized very soon, within the next few days. And we'll be getting that for our grant over to Florida Commerce, who funded that work. And Florida Commerce will have a list of all of the projects within Northeast Florida that we wish to push forward for additional funding in the future. So speaking of funding, there is a funding opportunity. It closes this Saturday. So if you're not already applying, it might be a little bit late, but we wanted to make sure you're aware of it, and that is from the Florida Department of Emergency Management. They have the Watershed Planning Program, and this program will fund either a watershed management plan or a stormwater management plan. And so there's 2 tracks that you can take with that grant application. So if you are interested in applying and you would like some last-minute advice, we'd be happy to help you with that. We are helping some of you already in some of our counties. We are helping you right now put together those applications, and you know who you are, and we can help others of you as well if need be. And then some upcoming events. Starting tomorrow, the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council is putting together their annual Resiliency Leadership Summit. And so that's a 2-day event, and that's not too far from here. So if you are interested, I would highly recommend. It's always a great event. I'm not able to make it this time, but it's unfortunate because I really would like to go. Jennifer Rupert over there, she's my counterpart. She does a great job putting this together. And then in May, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council is putting together their Regional Resiliency Summit. So that one is also a really great summit. We will be attending. Andrew Prokopiak will be attending from our team. And so we recommend that one as well. These summits bring together a lot of great stakeholders and representatives in resiliency from around the region, or around the state, I should say, around the state of Florida. And speaking of the state, the Florida Resilience Conference is the annual conference held by a joint effort between Resiliency Florida and the Florida Beach Preservation Society, and or Florida Beaches and Shores Preservation Association. And that effort takes place in September, but if you want to submit an abstract to be part of the agenda, then that is due March 31st. We are going to be represented at that conference, and so we're looking forward to having some of you also at that conference as well. That's kind of the big statewide one that everybody around the state comes to. And then Jessica already covered the last one, so I'm not going to belabor it, but it is a very important action that you can take. And this particular link, and these slides will go out, but this particular link goes through the American Flood Coalition. And so they will, they're kind of like the intermediary that if you want to take action, that they'll sort of forward your information as like signing the petition, not petition, but the pledge to urge Congress to provide more funding for resiliency. And with that, I am going to move us to the next slide, which is our Regional Resilience Action Plan. And I'm going to hand it over to Apurva Jam. She is our Senior Resiliency Planner with the Northeast Florida Regional Council. And she is going to kick us off and start talking about what we're doing here with the Regional Resilience Action Plan.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Apurva Jam, and I work as one of the senior regional resiliency planners here at the council. And as you might be aware, we recently launched our Regional Resiliency Action Plan. You can see the cover image of that document here. It has over 34 actions and 83 sub-actions that outline ways in which regional entities can facilitate cooperation to find effective solutions to the challenges that we are facing in the region. And we divided the actions into 3 main categories. One was facilitating regional coordination, second being guiding local implementation, and third being analyzing and synthesizing the data to drive data-driven implementation and changes. And we are currently in the phase 3 of that program or grant. And in this phase, we are looking for finding out new funding opportunities that could support the implementation of these actions. Also looking into resources that could help the implementation partners updated and help them implement these actions, and also putting metrics or a tracking framework together so that we can see the changes that we are making in the region and how successfully we are implementing the regional resiliency. Also, this phase embarks the implementation of these actions. So we are now getting into that, the initiation of it. We held our steering committee meeting in January where we discussed about implementing this action. This is a 5-year framework, and we'll be identifying the actions for near-term advancement. You'll be hearing more about it in the later slides. We will be integrating our ongoing initiatives and at the council with the RRAP, and also establishing new initiatives with our new partners on board. We'll be engaging implementation partners, and also moving forward, we request the subcommittee members to join as implementation partners and help us advance this action plan. So these are some of the actions that we have identified for near-term advancement. They are Action 5, which talks about promoting the conservation and restoration of ecologically significant natural ecosystems. Action 11, which talks about flood and homeowners insurance market. Action 12 and 13, which talk about public engagement and building partnerships. Action 14, which is about encouraging smart growth and building practices. Action 16 and 32, which talk about critical and regionally significant assets and adaptation options for them to enhance resiliency. Action 17, which talks about supporting shoreline stabilization of natural and modified shorelines. And Action 22, which is about green infrastructure and nature-based solutions. So this is the list of the ongoing initiatives which we have identified for current RRAP integration. We'll be going over them one by one. We'll be sharing the project overview related to each of these initiatives, how these initiatives or programs integrate with the RRAP, and what would be the next steps or call to action for our implementation partners or subcommittee members moving forward. The first up is South Atlantic Salt Marsh Initiative, which Farah will be talking about.
All right, thank you. So over the next few slides, as Apurva mentioned, we are going to be highlighting some of our ongoing initiatives, and then we'll talk about one new initiative towards the end here. These ongoing initiatives are places where you can plug in if you haven't already plugged in, and we're going to tell you how you can plug in order to implement these RRAP actions. And on the previous slide that Apurva went through those, I believe it was like eight or nine actions, that those are the ones that we picked from the 34. If you all remember, the RRAP has 34 actions. We narrowed that down to 9 that we're going to be moving forward on in the near future. And as we cover these slides coming up, some of them cover more than one action. Like, for example, this one you're going to see covers 5 different actions, the SASME work that we're doing. And I'm going to spend a little extra time on this one in particular because I do want to highlight where we can really use your help on this work. So this project with the South Atlantic Salt Marsh Initiative, or SASME, is a collaborative partnership to protect salt marshes. Restore existing marshes, create living shorelines, conserving land for marsh migration. And the project that we are working that is funded by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation is specifically for identifying sites for nature-based solutions. And we've been working on that project with 3 other states in the Southeast, and that project is coordinated by Legacy Works, and we do have Will Allen with Legacy Works who's going to speak in just a moment. But that is a 4-state initiative that where we are really working on identifying these sites, and this will benefit coastal communities, economies, and wildlife. So it's not just a one-piece kind of a thing. It has multiple benefits to it. So the RRAP, where does it fall into the RRAP? Action 5, as Apurva already mentioned what this action is. I'm not going to spend a long time on each one of these. You will have access to these slides after this meeting, but I will highlight that on every slide for each of these actions that we're going to be implementing and moving forward, we've highlighted the exact wording from the RRAP that it fits into. And so when you go back and review these, you'll see, oh, well, that's what we committed to. So that's we committed to doing these particular things within the RRAP already, and so that's why we're able to seamlessly integrate this into our work. So action 5. And then action 12 is where we're fostering the public engagement on resilience. And we'll talk a little bit about what that public engagement is going to look like. Part of that is going to be doing these community conversations sort of at the neighborhood level. And so we're really looking forward to finding the right places where we can hold these community conversations and the right approach to doing them. And then the action 13 is facilitating partnerships to advance resilience work. And we're already doing that. North Florida Land Trust is a major partner on this project. Also the Gullah Geechee Cultural Community Initiative, or Trust, I should say, Cultural Community Trust is a major partner. And hopefully some of you all will be interested in becoming an implementation partner to advance this resilience work as well. And then Action 17 is where we support shoreline stabilization of natural and modified shorelines. So you may remember that I mentioned on the first slide that we're looking at living shorelines. So that is a type of shoreline stabilization measure that we are looking at. And this particular Action 17.2 says that we will encourage the use of living shorelines and nature-based solutions where possible. And we're doing that through this work. And then Action 22 of the RRAP is where we promote deployment of green infrastructure and nature-based solutions. So not only are we encouraging their use, as is mentioned in Action 17, but we're actually going to move these projects forward towards deployment. We're going to move that. We're looking for projects to add for a new application to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation for funding to actually implement these nature-based solutions in green infrastructure. So all of this fits within these highlighted words here that are on the slide for the RRAP implementation and integration. So what do we want? Why are we mentioning these things today? So what we want is to mention to you what the next steps are and the call to action. So the next step is that NEFRC is going to be conducting these community workshops in the target areas. This March and April is the plan. And we are wanting to, if any of you have connections with community groups, in the 4 coastal counties. Keep in mind this project is, since it's salt marsh related, it's only in the 4 coastal counties of our region. So that goes from Nassau down to Flagler. So if you have connections with community groups in any of those counties who can bring local individuals together to identify areas within their neighborhoods where flooding or other concerns could be alleviated by the nature-based solutions. And these communities would ideally have some sort of connection to the nearby salt marsh as well. So that's one way that you can help us, is by providing those community group contacts. And then a big piece that you can help us with is providing potential project ideas based on your own local knowledge. So we polled some of you in previous other meetings for your own ideas about where nature-based solutions would be most beneficial. We've had various meetings throughout the region to address this topic, and we're trying to pull all those together. But this is kind of like a big call here that we're doing now to get these projects on the list. And we're going to be sending out a survey after this meeting. And on that survey, we would like for you to list specific sites that you feel would be benefited by a nature-based solution. So those will all be considered for potential future funding. So please take this very seriously and take this as your opportunity to potentially get a nature-based solution on the list for additional funding. And with that, I'm going to call up Mr. Will Allen with Legacy Works Group to tell us what the other states have been doing in relationship to this project.
Thanks, Farah. As Farah said, 4 states, so North Carolina Coastal Federation is one of the subawards that we manage. We also have 3 in South Carolina. We've got Gullah Geechee Legacy, we've got the South Carolina Coastal Conservation League, and we have Audubon, South Carolina. And then in Georgia, it's the Georgia Conservancy. Just to give you a smattering of the projects that are on the menu, part of the funding that we got through this program also came from what's known as the REPI program, the Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration Program of the Department of War. And so we have a lot of projects where there is an overlap between both the salt marsh protection, coastal defense, and supporting the military mission. So there are some areas that have been identified in North Carolina, for instance, in Carteret County, that are areas where they do flyovers going out to outlying landing fields. And they need those areas and those communities to be resilient and stay kind of in a relatively natural state. So there's some living shoreline opportunities that they're working on there to help some of those communities. Georgia Conservancy has a variety of kind of culvert upgrade and renewal projects where the culverts the tidal flows going in and out, and they're not big enough, so they exacerbate a lot of flooding along major critical infrastructure road infrastructure. And so they're looking at some designs that would facilitate the water flow, the tidal flow coming in, and then therefore having opportunities for marsh migration into larger areas and protection of marsh migration corridors. And then the Gullah Geechee project, I'm most familiar with. They have a variety of projects, including some oyster restoration, but they're also looking at doing living shoreline projects that are protecting some of the family cemeteries of the Gullah Geechee Nation, since those tend to be on the in the low-lying areas near the shoreline. So that's a little bit of a smattering for you.
Thank you so much, Will. So hopefully that sort of gets your brain going and to come up with some ideas for how we can implement this in Northeast Florida in our 4 coastal counties. So but before we move on to our next initiative, I want to pause for just a moment to see if anybody has any questions about what involvement in this initiative could look like. Any questions or about what this project is or anything like that? All right. So no questions on that. So I'm going to move forward to another NIFWIF funded project. So the National Fish and Wildlife recently funded the Northeast Florida Regional Council on an aquatic connectivity project. The name of the project is Assessing Infrastructure Vulnerability and Aquatic Connectivity, Benefiting Resilience of Florida's First Coast. So there's 3 main parts to this project. The biggest part of this is assessment of road stream crossing barriers. So this is going to be where some of those culverts are that Will mentioned in Georgia. We're going to be looking at them here in Florida and assessing whether they are an impediment to fish passage or other type of flora and fauna migration. The second part of the project is identifying and prioritizing future barrier removal projects using both quantitative and qualitative approaches. So we are going to be doing a lot of GIS and other quantitative processes to prioritize these. And then in addition to that, the qualitative piece is where we get ideas from groups like yourself in order to prioritize those barriers for future removal. And then the third part of this project is education and outreach, specifically to the communities who may not even realize the level of importance of these potential barriers to aquatic connectivity. And so we're going to be doing those 3 main pieces to this project. And in the map there, you can see the 3 watersheds. Those are the Huck 8, if you're familiar with those. So that includes the St. Mary's River watershed, the Nassau River, and obviously the St. Johns River, the biggest of the watersheds that are in our region. So which actions do these support in the RRAP? So in the RRAP, Action 5, again, is another one of the biggies because we're talking about, again, conservation and restoration of ecologically significant natural ecosystems. So we're going to be doing some of that same emphasis for this action. And then again, Action 12, more public engagement on resilience being fostered. And then again, Action 13, facilitating partnerships to advance resilience work. So some of the partners that are already on board on this project that are going to be integral to this work are JU, Jacksonville University, and UNF, University of North Florida. They're going to be recruiting students to do a lot of the field work for this project. And that is a huge, huge important part of this work, is not only the fact that they're going to be getting us data, but that they're going to be integrated in this whole process as students. And this will be a new opportunity for them to learn and grow as future scientists. And the other partners on this project include well, let's see, we have 4 other main partners, including the North Florida Land Trust. Heather's here today. And we also have the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission that has committed and was integral on the application process and will be helping us with this project moving forward. We have and why can I not remember? Oh, the Pew Charitable Trust has been a huge partner on this effort as well. And then the St. Johns River Water Management District is a partner. And we are always open to more partners moving this effort forward. And then Action 22, again, very similar to the last project, promote deployment of green infrastructure and nature-based solutions. Because this project is going to be moving, once we prioritize these sites, we're going to be moving them forward for nature-based solutions. So how can you get involved? So NEFRC is going to be forming a working group to support this initiative and to guide its implementation. So we would like to invite you, if you're interested in contributing to any of those efforts that are listed there. And so if you want to help us with identifying that nexus with resilience of critical infrastructure, so maybe you may be familiar with some of the critical infrastructure near some of these road stream crossings. And if you are, then we would love to hear your input about that, sort of how those are integrated and important to each other. How it's resilience of communities and evacuation routes. Because again, some of these culverts and road stream crossings are on important evacuation routes for our region. So that, and then also providing input on the prioritization process, as I mentioned before, and then participating in the community education piece. So if you feel like that you have any expertise in any of those areas, then that is the call to action for you to get involved in this project as part of the working group. So we'll be sending out more emails about becoming part of that working group if you're interested, and we welcome you to be part of that. And now we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about our military installation readiness review, and how does that fit into the RRAP? So many of you are familiar with this MIRR that we're working on right now. And the overview of the project, if you're not familiar with it, the purpose is to identify and develop solutions for vulnerabilities associated with imminent natural hazards and relevant social and infrastructure issues for the 4 Northeast Florida military installations and the surrounding communities outside the fence line. And keep in mind, this project is really focusing on that interaction between the installation and the community outside the fence line. So one thing that I'll highlight here is it really falls under sub-action 13.3 in the RRAP. We actually called this out specifically in the RRAP, which is to support intergovernmental partnerships with state and federal agencies, including the military, to increase regional readiness. So that falls squarely within that work of Action 13. And then another piece that it falls under is Action 16, which is identifying adaptation options for critical infrastructure to enhance resilience. One of the big pieces of this project is developing these adaptation options for military resilience. So it falls squarely within that as well. So the next steps that we are doing on this work is we have a TAC, which is a Technical Advisory Committee for this Military Installation Readiness Review. So if you are a subject matter expert in any of those categories listed there, or in adaptation planning in general, we invite you to be a guest speaker at one of our TAC meetings and help us to arrive at these solutions to the vulnerabilities within our military. And then the upcoming TAC meetings, one is tomorrow, but that one, the agenda is already set for that one. But the next meeting is going to be in March. And so if anybody's interested in joining that TAC, if you have technical experience and would like to contribute, then I would welcome you to join our TAC. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Apurva to talk about one of her initiatives that she's working on.
Thank you, Farah. So the next initiative is the Northeast Florida Community Rating System Users Group. And this is a regional subject-specific forum that we facilitate here at the Council. It helps bring local government and communities that are participating in the FEMA's community rating system. As you may know, participation in CRS provides incentives to the communities that exceed the minimum floodplain management requirements set by the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program. And with these meetings, we help equip the communities and the local governments with updated technical information related to the flood management topics, and through subject matter experts' presentation. And we also help provide them tools and resources to maintain or advance their CRS scores. This forum also provides an opportunity for the CRS coordinators in the region to share their updates regarding the CRS activities and seek guidance from each other. So the meetings are held quarterly, virtually, and our next meeting will be in March 20th. And I'll just go back to the previous slide and show that how it aligns with the RAP. So it directly advances the Action 11, which is about improving the flood and homeowner insurance market in the region through regional coordination and encouraging participation in the CRS. So for our next meeting, we'll be sending out meeting invites in this week. It will take place on Friday, March 20th. It will be a 1-hour session. We have a very exciting presentation scheduled from Forerunner, which is a geospatial platform that supports stormwater and floodplain management. And the call to action is we welcome you to join that meeting. And also, if you are interested in presenting at a future meeting, we'd be very happy to provide that space. If you know somebody who would be interested in presenting, please feel free to connect them with us. And yes, with that, I'll hand it over to Andrew, who will talk about the Regional Adaptation Planning Manual.
Thanks, Apoorva. So I'm going to talk about a project that I've been working on a little bit, and that is the Regional Adaptation Planning Manual. Now that all of the communities in Northeast Florida, or almost all the communities in Northeast Florida, have completed their vulnerability assessments, now it's on to the next step on trying to get money from state, federal, and other nonprofits. And to do that, you're going to want an adaptation plan. That is what comes directly after completing your vulnerability assessment. So many of your communities will be applying for that in the future. So during our last couple grant cycles, we built what's called the Vulnerability Assessment Supplemental Planning Manual. And that took the state manual and expanded it about tenfold. And we're aiming to do the exact same thing with the adaptation planning manual. The state's planning manual is great, but it's very, I want to say almost nebulous. At least previous iterations are. They've been updating it regularly and making it better each time, but we feel that it can always use a regional perspective on really nailing home what matters here in Northeast Florida. And so that's why I'm writing this updated adaptation planning guide to supplement the state guidance to really give us a real regional feel for it. So this will help our local governments, partners, and anybody else using those planning manuals to get funding really nail it down to as far as what projects and how to best get that kind of funding. So this applies directly to Action 16, which is identify adaptation options for critical infrastructure and enhance resilience. As we all know, critical infrastructure is a major tenet of vulnerability assessments as far as a critical asset, as according to the state. So this will provide our local communities with additional tools, additional planning, and additional just everything on helping them eke out the competition on getting that funding for that specific infrastructure project. This will actually look at other municipalities in the state, see what they've done. There's actually a couple other regional planning councils who are working on a very similar initiative in conjunction with ours to help their regions. So next steps. I have a VA working group. We haven't met this year yet, but we did meet last year, and I got some great feedback from the VA working group. But I can always use additional members, additional voices, additional knowledge when it comes to stuff beyond my expertise. Again, I'm not an engineer, I'm a planner, so my job is herding cats. So I want to get all of the cats, everybody I can find together and really help make this a fantastic document for the Northeast Florida region. So if you are interested in joining this working group, please reach out to me. Find me in the back before we leave. Shoot me an email. My email is right there. But please, I welcome you to be part of this group. I know some of you are already part of that group in this room, but I'm always looking for additional voices. So yeah, I should have a really rough draft of that document ready in March. So I'm hoping to have one of those working group meetings early March to share with you all and really kind of nail down on how it needs to evolve further. Other than that, I am going to turn it over to Farah.
All right. So thank you, Andrew. This is the last of our ongoing projects that we're going to talk about for this one, and we're going to have a separate section towards the end of our meeting today where we really dive into this topic. But for now, I just want to give you a little sneak peek, and that is that we are conducting a regional vulnerability assessment analysis, and that analysis is going to include analysis of patterns, regionally significant findings, points of concern, and comparison with the multi-regional extreme rainfall analysis that we did here at the Regional Council. So that's just a really quick overview of what the project is. And then the action integration for this project is number 32, inventorying critical and significant assets. That is in the RRAP 32.2, maintain inventory of regionally significant assets. And we're going to talk more in detail. Robert's going to discuss that later in this session today. And now I'm going to hand it back to Apurva, who's going to talk about one new initiative that we are really wanting to get started here, starting from scratch.
So this is a new initiative, and we are developing it in partnership with Florida Housing Coalition. And through this, we are going to look into the properties that are located outside of the FEMA's high-risk special flood hazard area. We acknowledge that properties in those areas are also vulnerable to compounding flood risks and increasing flood risk and compound flooding, as learned through the CVAs, the Comprehensive Vulnerability Assessments conducted in the region and at local level. So we'll be examining opportunities to develop above the code standards to promote more resiliency and also help attain better CRS ratings, specifically through Activity 430, which is higher regulatory standards, and also support homeowner insurance affordability. So more details will be shared about this project as we develop this, but as per the RRAP integration, there is an excellent opportunity to leverage the expertise, develop guidance, and support regional coordination on risk design standards and policy tools for new construction in X zones. And it directly aligns with Action 11, the insurance markets, and Action 14, encouraging smart growth and building practices. So this is about our new initiative. As Farah mentioned earlier, we'll be sending out emails related to all of these specific call to actions that we discussed during this presentation. And you can also reach out to us via email if you have new ideas on collaborations. And with that, I'll move on to the next segment. Yes. Would you like to?
Before we move to the next segment, I just want to pause for just a moment to see if anybody has any questions or thoughts about these actions that we are pursuing or proposing to pursue over these next 6 to 12 months. Any questions or comments on any of those? All right, well, very good. So we are going to move on then to our guest presentation. And I think we're right on schedule. So our guest presenter is Kim Ross. She is the co-executive director and the co-founder of Rethink Energy Florida, based in Tallahassee. And she is going to be talking to us today about energy efficiency, and I'll let her talk about what she's talking about. But anyway, I'm going to hand it over to Kim, and thank you for joining us today.
All right, thank you. And I'm just so impressed with the full room here and all the work that you all are doing, all the ways that you're collaborating. So thanks for having me here to hear about that as well. Let's see, so is this my clicker? Okay, great. So I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about energy efficiencies opportunities in Florida and some work that we've done that is a tool for you all to use, as well as what led to that work. So our mission is to educate, engage, and empower Floridians to take action to achieve a just transition for clean energy through youth education, adult engagement, and community organizing. We have a great internship program. We have a wonderful youth education program. I'm happy to talk to you guys about that later. We do STEM education throughout the year in Leon County. And then we're also out there in the community working with adults and engaging with adults, getting them out in the nature. So a little more about my background, though. I'm one of the OGs of the LEED accredited professionals, and I was a part of a small business, and we ran a program called Neighborhood Reach in the city of Tallahassee, where we were going door to door, doing energy efficiency measures, I would say, and we covered a lot of Tallahassee's low-income communities during that time period. And then I'm going to tell you about our SEED program, the Rethink Energy Florida's SEED program now. So SEED is Sustainable Energy Efficiency Deployment Program. We got started as a result of the National Renewable Energy Lab. No, it has a different name, but National Renewable Energy Lab grant. And we were one of eight teams selected across the United States to run this program. And basically, we had seen that there was a disparity, and as you all are, I'm sure, are familiar, in solar adaptation, as had NREL, and they said they were trying to figure out how do we overcome the obstacles within low to moderate income communities. So we focused originally on 3 communities. Now we've expanded to 5 communities in Tallahassee that are all low to moderate income communities. We're doing energy efficiency education. We're doing home energy assessments. And then, and if they're interested in solar, we're looking to see if they're ready for solar. And then we're also connecting them with other programs that are in the area that might be able to help them with funding for all of that. When we got into the communities, one of the things that we figured out very quickly was that solar was not the first thing on their mind. Oh, before I do that, so just so you'll see, so anything that's red, this is from the old EJ screen. On the left, we have PM 2.5 pollution, and on the yes, okay. And on the right, we have demographics, and same with cancer. You can see that all of these are very similar, and where there are lower income communities, they're struggling with a lot of other things too, and then a lot of these communities are Black and brown as well. And then this is our energy burden map in Tallahassee. And so again, you can see all the similarities, right? So these are people who are paying higher than 12% of their income on energy. 6 to 12% is considered high, high and very high. So what we did first was we hired from within the community, and we brought in trusted leaders, and then we have been in 130 households, making sure that they're as energy efficient as they can, and helping again connecting with them with other programs within the city of Tallahassee that are available to them. this is energy consumption in the United States homes. Probably most of you all are familiar with some of these statistics, but space heating especially is incredibly expensive in terms of energy consumption. For us in Florida, also air conditioning can be very expensive. And so those two, I'd love to see this on a state level because I think we'd have more on air conditioning. But in terms of what's consuming energy. So anytime then you have, a hole in a place where a draft can happen, then that's what we're trying to address. So these are some pictures from the homes that we've been in over the years. Again, we discovered before you can even talk about solar, you've got to talk about the structure and whether or not the structure can handle solar, whether or not it's energy efficient enough. And so, and one of the other things that we discovered, other issues that we've discovered as we were working through this project, and again, we continue on this project today, is not just, we've got the age of the home, we've also got long-term rentership, and so some renters that, the second from the left here, that's a fan that's hanging from an attic to replace air conditioning, and that particular renter allowed us to take a picture but did not want us to contact their landlord because they were concerned that their rate will go up if their landlord did the improvements that they need to make their home a livable home. And so that's just some of those long-term renters. And then heirs property, are you all familiar with heirs property? Heirs property is when a property has been in a community or in a family, and let's say an uncle or an aunt long ago owned the property, they passed away, they didn't have any kids, and moved over to their niece or nephew, and then they pass away, and then it keeps handing off in the family's mind to the person below them, but who owns the property? That the paperwork has not followed that. And so heirs property is another issue for some of the programs that we have that we are looking at, because a lot of times they want you to provide proof of ownership of your home in order to get some of the funding. And then, obviously financial constraints, and then the, I've given this program like a few times, I'm just noticing a spelling error there. And also the age of the residents. A lot of our residents are elderly, and they don't necessarily have the ability to do do-it-yourself projects. So those are just some of the issues that we found. This is some of the statistics based on what we found. Is there insulation in the attic? The answer was yes on a lot of them, and that often goes back to that neighborhood reach program that I told you about, because that was one of the measures that they were able to do was add additional insulation to get it up to R38. And then weather stripping, similarly, we had maybe about a third were not weather stripped. And then this is just the age and average of the age of the house. So you can see they're mostly between about 55 and 75 years old, or the homes that we've looked at so far. So again, some of the things that we found. But a lot, there were also a decent number of homes that we thought were solar ready, and we could get them solar. So we did a lot of this work from the perspective of, what's next in these communities. And I'll just say real quick, one of the things that we think was a success was that we've become a trusted voice. When tornadoes hit Tallahassee a couple of years ago, my team was the first that some of these neighbors called, and they still continue to be like, if they have a contractor, can you come talk to the elderly lady? Calls my project manager and now my co-director. Can you come talk to this contractor to make sure they aren't taking advantage of me? Those sorts of things. And so we were able to help with that and help also with hurricane recovery. I'll say the other thing and part of that is that we have stayed in the community. So when the funding from National Renewable Energy Lab went away in 2023, we stayed. And I said one thing, I remember 32304 is the poorest zip code in the state of Florida. That's one of our zip codes that we're in. And about 10 years ago, because our office is in that neighborhood, I went to a how do we solve that problem room like this, only 200 people or so. And there were neighbors and people from within the community. And I remember sitting down at a table and we were doing kind of a breakout of how, what is the idea of this table? And a gentleman was there from within the community and he was angry. And he said, people come in and study this all the time and then they just leave and do nothing. And so that has stuck with me from then to now, and we have committed to staying in these neighborhoods and continuing to work to find funding to bring them into the neighborhoods. So one thing that we were able to do, we've also been instrumental in the City of Tallahassee's Clean Energy Plan, which is a focus on 2050 being net clean energy by 2050. And so we were able to bring focus groups from within these communities to the table with the city to advise on their clean energy plan and how they can implement it in such a way that those neighbors can also be considered and get access to some of the funds that they need to be able to participate in the transition to clean energy. Okay, so all of that leads to the FRESH database. And let's see how I'm doing pretty good on time here. So while we were doing this, we also had, of course, Florida Solar for All, sadly, was out there. We were partners with them as they started. Probably some of you guys were on some of those calls with us. The Nature Conservancy partnered with us to set up a database because our problems are not unique, I'm sure. I'm sure some of you know that this is going on everywhere, including here. These problems of lower income communities and what they need. So they asked us to put together a database of all of the programs within the state of Florida that might help somebody get resources to become solar ready. That was in conjunction with the Florida Solar for All funding that was originally coming to the Nature Conservancy and a couple of the larger organizations in Florida, right? About halfway through our development, we were talking to them, and this is mid-year last year, and they said, maybe we should not tie it directly into Florida Solar for All, because if Florida Solar for All and if the funding gets yanked back, then we want this still to be a database that's accessible. So that was smart thinking on their part, and so we created the FRESH database, and I'm going to bring it up for you in just a minute. But it again has all that we're aware of, and so I do have two asks for you. All of the programs that we're aware of that can provide anything from minor home repair to major renovations. And so there's an initial kind of list, and then you can kind of click on it and open it, and you'll see a whole bunch of information relative to it. So I think what I want to do is go ahead and bring up the database and then show you how it works. And then I think I'll have time for questions. There it is, okay. Okay, I guess I probably won't, huh? You want to, you have a keyboard. Someone shout out a zip code for me. What zip code do we want? All right. Oh, did we get it? Did you get it in there? Okay. I don't think you did. Try it again. Scroll back up. All right. And then you can also do it by county. You can do the different types of programs. County, you can also select, are you interested in just grants? Are you interested in rebates? Are you interested in tax incentives? We also do have a few commercial and construction, and the focus is residential, but we do have a few that we were able to find from there. So let's just go on down to residential. And then we'll go to, here we go, Energy Conservation Loans by Clay County. So, and then you've got your information down here. And I'm including a link that you can click on to get to more information. So there's two reasons that I present this to you all today. One is hopefully you'll help get the word out that this is a resource. But the other thing is we also have the ask. So we were able to find as many as we could. We scoured county websites, we scoured utility websites, we scoured state and federal websites to get the information. And we have the very easy for us to update. So for instance, we know that some of our energy tax credits ended at the end of last year. They are actually still in here, but we've added a piece around that it's gone away as of 12/31. Some people can still take advantage of them if they already did it, so we wanted to leave them in for a little bit. But my other ask is this: if you are aware, so take a look at it, and I'm actually going to, if we can, just take these and hand them around. Take one, pass it on type of thing. Because that's got the website and it's got a little QR code. If you're aware of anything that's not on there, or if you're aware, hey, you know what, there's something that needs to be updated, please just like reach out to me. There's there's information at the bottom of the website. So yeah, you can reach out to us here, or you can, my contact information, you can talk to me later. And I'd love to hear from you. So we do think we got it, we did a pretty good job, but just wanted to have that caveat and also ask for your help on that. And I think, my. There we go. That's all right. Your tech guy is handing out cards. My tech guy is passing out. Any questions while we're waiting? Or any thoughts? Oh, Whitney has a question.
So in communities like Tallahassee, where you and I are from, the utilities sometimes have sourced some of their power from solar fields, like in Tallahassee.
Yes.
Does that actually help?
I would say, well, yes, I would say it helps from a global and state perspective in terms of how much energy we're producing from solar versus other things. Does it help an individual consumer? Or like in Tallahassee, I think what you're referring to is we have ratepayers can choose to get their solar from the community solar, and then they pay a teensy bit extra, but it's locked in for 25 years, so it may end up being less for that solar. It's not directly like going to that home, right? It's going into the grid. And so it's a way for people to buy in. It actually has, our theory is it's led to us having a little bit less distributed generation because a lot of the early people who bought into that would have been the ones that would have put solar on their rooftops probably. But overall, yes, solar at the utility level helps and definitely I think helps from that perspective, but not from the individual person perspective. It doesn't help their bill, yeah. FPL has a similar program in Northeast Florida. Yes, yeah. Do you know what the status is or the prospects are for solar customer side of the meter availability in Florida? Is that available? What are you hearing here? Because you're in Tallahassee. Is that ever going to happen? Is it a possibility? So I think I'm not understanding your question because it sounds. Customer side of meter instead of utility. So in other words, I have solar on my roof. It feeds into the meter. Right? And we participate in the credits and all the things and the installation back when the credits were available. But that solar I can't deploy it easily to charge my own battery array on my side of the meter. Right? Got it. Really off the grid. There's no flexibility. Is that something that people are trying to do? I know of a few. I mean that is kind of somebody who has a little more money as opposed to like you can do that, but not many people are doing it because of the expense. So if you put solar on roofs in They'll be tied into the grid still, probably. Yes, yeah. So they do get no. Well, so if you put solar on your own rooftop, I mean, I have it on mine. It reduces the bill, right? So I'm only buying the energy that I'm using from the grid, and I'm giving energy. Well, I'm not, but because I have trees. But you could be giving energy back, and then we have net metering for that will allow you to basically trade a kilowatt hour here for a kilowatt hour back in. Does that make sense? Currently, yes, correct. One of the yes, there. I will say in Tallahassee, one of the City of Tallahassee utility programs that they're trying to get off the ground is a battery storage plus solar in one of our 5 communities that we're in. That would serve so it would serve as a microgrid. It would still all be connected, right, to the bigger grid, but their intent is for it to serve as a microgrid and be quicker up as a result of that. Does that make sense? Quicker back up on. Yeah. So great questions. Okay, I think I'm out of time though. So thank you so much, you guys. And I'll be here afterwards if anyone wants to chat. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. All right. So we're going to move on to our next topic, which is the regional vulnerability analysis. And I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Robert Jordan with our team, and he is going to talk about that for you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as Farah kind of indicated earlier on, we are starting the process of working on this regional vulnerability assessment that's part of that next step with the regional resiliency entity. We did bring it to the steering committee in November some of the steps dealing with our regionally significant critical assets, how to determine those. We have all of these critical asset data, but what to pull for that is considered regionally significant. And also we've pulled successfully all of the roster flood depths and values for all of the vulnerability assessments, all the counties and major municipalities that will be used to do this regional vulnerability analysis. So kind of next steps we're going to be dealing with, and we're going to be asking for feedback through a survey that's going to be sent out after this meeting to acquire. We have a map with all the regionally significant assets. This is not the map specifically here, this just kind of illustrates it, but there's a link to this map in that blue over on the left. And that will be in the survey determining whether or not the asset list is inclusive of everything, or is it too inclusive? So it could be whittled down. We are using the statutory definition from Chapter 380, which has a number of assets that are listed as regionally significant by Florida statutes. And we're also using our what we call resources of regional significance, which is in the Strategic Regional Policy Plan, which is our guiding visioning document for the Northeast Florida Regional Council. And we have a number of assets in there that we just feedback on that generally. We have a section of I'll just call it the SRPP. The SRPP has a section called Natural Resources of Regional Significance. It includes parks, preserves, waterways, wetlands. We kind of had a conversation with the steering committee in November on wetlands, but this would be more inclusive. And it's literally a list by county of these assets. And so I will also be including that in the survey as well, mapped out to determine if that's needs to be expanded or it could be whittled down based upon your whole knowledge of your localities to determine what would be fitting to fit as the resource of regional significance. In terms of the flooding, looking at the rainfall flooding, rainfall flooding, storm surge flooding, and tidal flooding, there was a diverse variety of what was looked at in terms of how flooding was determined. So there's we just want to make sure when we mosaic all of these flood analyses together into a one roster to analyze rainfall flooding at a regional level, storm surge flooding at a regional level. We just want to make sure that is accurate. So there will also be a map and a list, including for storm surge and high tide flooding, that will be available on the survey, determine if they're, how to properly mosaic those files together. And this will be sent out probably at the end of this week, and it'll be in a survey 1, 2, 3 format. So it'll be maps, open-ended questions, and so that they allow for more detail analysis. Any questions or follow-up? Farrah, if you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, let me just, I'm going to go real quick. The two main things, and Robert covered this, but the two main questions that are going to be covered by the survey, do the proposed regionally significant natural resources corresponding to specifications in the SRPP that Robert talked about, do they make sense? So that's kind of the overarching first question. And then the second question, which we're going to break down as Robert described, is how do we account for those discrepancies among different data types for similar analysis? So like in the one that Robert was showing just a second ago, on each of these, for rainfall and for storm surge and for high tide flooding, not all of the data is in the same form. Or did the same exact type of analysis. So how do we account for those discrepancies? That's not to say one is better than the other, just that they're different. And so Robert's putting together that survey, like he said, and he's going to send that out. But those are the two overarching questions. How do we account for the discrepancies, and are the critical assets, are they appropriate? Yes, Commissioner Minshew, you have a question?
Yeah, so Vera, when you say you're gonna send the survey out, who are you sending it to? Are you looking for multiple responses back from the same county or city? I mean, who exactly is getting this, and how many are you sending out by community or by county or whatever?
That's a great question. So our plan was to send it out broadly to our entire distribution list for Resilient First Coast. But if you think that that is too broad, we can adjust accordingly.
No, not necessarily. I
Okay.
just, I just want to know like who in my city is gonna get this, and so that I can make sure it gets answered and gets back, and
Right.
all that, and how many. Anyway,
We can certainly do a more targeted approach.
I'm not asking for that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that you're right or wrong. I'm just saying, how are you doing it?
Okay. Yeah. So and Robert, did you want to answer that a little bit since you're going to send it?
So it's just going to be based on a link. So if we're going to be sending it out to everyone in the collaborative, but if you want to send the link out, it's public access. Once you have the link, you can access that. You can send that to other people as well.
Yeah. Thank you. And that will be in the form of an easily accessible survey 1, 2, 3. That's the link that will be sent out for that. And then we'll be sending a separate survey for those former questions that I mentioned during the previous section. We'll be sending out a separate survey that's not spatially dependent. The one where you're putting ideas for projects and things like that, that'll be a separate survey. Not to overburden you with surveys, but but we want your input on these things, and we think it's important to hear from you. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Jessica to lead our discussion about our resilience updates.
Thank you, Farrah. So as you can hear and tell, we have a lot happening within our region, lots of information being pushed out, but this is, we've talked a lot today, but now it's our chance to turn it back over to our audience so we could go through and provide updates, anything that you would like to share with the group. Maybe we can start with any local governments, if anyone would like to share projects or planning efforts or any kind of initiative or funding, things like that. Any volunteers? Yes.
I'm Deborah Thompson. I wasn't here at the beginning of the but I work with the NAACP Environmental and Climate Justice Committee, and we were awarded a $25,000 grant to work with youth between the ages of 13 and 16, and then 16 to 24. And what we would like to do is to engage the community, use you as some of our collaborative to be speakers to talk about the feasibility of that, because what we'd like to get out of that is a youth leadership group. are a group of individuals that go beyond the grant, that care enough about our environment and the climate changes that we would be able to call upon or use as resources. We can pay for them to take the certifications, emergency preparedness kinds of things, and things like that. So if you have youth groups or students at any schools that we might be able to approach, could you please notify me? I can do it here, or I am on the mailing list. But we have 1 year to touch around 200 people to just get the word out into especially our low and moderate income neighborhoods where people are more, they feel like victims more so. So we want them to be prepared, do plans, look at these maps, and understand some of this technical stuff at a young age. Thank you.
Great opportunity. Thank you. Anyone else, like a local government level, would like to share anything happening? Yes, James.
Greetings, James Richardson with the Jacksonville Environmental Protection Board. We have just wrapped up our septic tank vulnerability assessment. I'm waiting on the physical document. Once I get that in, it'll be available for distribution and sharing. We'll definitely share it with the regional entities. But if anybody else is interested in it, Farah, Andrew, all of them know how to contact me. You can reach out and we can share it with you maybe in a week or so.
Outstanding. And right next to you, we have City of Jacksonville. I'm going to put Dr. Hinton and Allison on the spot. City of Jacksonville updates.
Well, we gave a 45-minute presentation on this the other day. If you'd like the full scoop, I'd say that our annual update should be available on our website soon. We had technical difficulties, but we're chugging along on the city's first ever State of the Food report. We think that's a really novel and important effort. We're working on a compound flood model to help us get a really granular understanding of the flooding across Jacksonville. I think what's pertinent, if you've been following the news lately, we're working on the city's first community wildfire protection plan. So that's kicking off, and we're going to be working with a consultant to develop strategies to help reduce our risk across Jacksonville. So I'll give you those as teasers, and if you want the rest, please read our annual update.
Good job. Any other local? Yes.
My colleagues over here from the City of Jacksonville may know this, and I'm not even sure where to plug this suggestion, and maybe it's already been done, but the Jacksonville Waterways Commission is an excellent source for getting this information out. And I know that the regional council is familiar with that group, but especially the first part of this presentation about the salt marsh projects and some of those others, there's about 10 to 12 local experts that serve on that, but you can easily get plugged in by talking with any of us.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I'm Janice Minshew with Fernandina Beach. I'm going to brag on our stormwater department for a second. In 2010, we did a stormwater master plan with consultants, and it was 2 6-inch binders, and it only accommodated 3 small segments in the city. So this year, our stormwater department internally did a stormwater master plan that encompassed the entire city and part of the county that's on the island. It created 14 basins, and they did it all internally. It's only about 10 or 12 pages. It's actually fabulous because you can actually follow it and understand what they're going to do. Our stormwater department really didn't get created till 2017. And much of the stormwater infrastructure in the city is really, really, really old, and we don't know where easements are or if there ever were easements. Some of it is over 100 years old. So they put together a plan that actually separates things, which I think is really helpful, into maintenance and capital projects, and have decided that we're going to have to add some more people to the department, and it's probably going to take us, 5 years to get through the maintenance list. But at least now we have a maintenance list and we have a plan. So they presented it at the last city commission meeting, and I just want to brag on them because they did a really excellent job, and they did it all internally, and it didn't cost us anything.
I feel your pain and we need to talk because I'm in the same boat as City of St. Augustine. Anyone else? Local governments before we move on to agencies? Any last chance? Okay. State or federal agency partners that would like to provide any updates? I know we had some great updates already. Oh, yes, Doug.
If you've been watching the news lately, we're a tad short on water. So to exercise and strengthen resiliency of water, exercise water conservation. Such items would be start checking your irrigation systems for leaks, check your appliances and the other faucets and shower heads, and hold off on that urge to replace all the winter fried plants you have out in the yard until we get healthy on it, because the urge is people are going to start watering. And this, so we have a phase 1 water shortage hazard area, and it covers basically the whole regional council, Flagler, Putnam, all the way up through Nassau and Baker. So please be mindful. We're watching it, and you know, as we go down the ladder, and this is voluntary, as we go down the ladder, things don't get better. Voluntary is going to start turning into mandatory. So please be mindful. You're all very thoughtful leaderships here. Get it to the citizens and your constituents that you know need to be reminded that, you know, some simple things can go an awful long way. Thank
Is
you.
there a website? I'm assuming that the district to do updates and latest
Just bring up
information.
the website, it'll be right there on the front page. There's a water conservation tab, and you'll get more info than you can think of on water conservation. Plenty of organizations that will help you. Your utilities are getting letters. Your HOAs are going to start getting letters to remind them they're all part of the game to help us out here.
Good point. Thank you.
Again, check the St. John's River Water Management District website.
Any other local agencies, state, federal, regional? Okay. Academia. Any academia updates?
I did see Dr. Pinto in here, but I think you ran out.
Ah.
Oh, there you are. Can we put you on the spot? Yeah.
I'm afraid that's impossible. Yeah, so we just had the environmental symposium and we presented the river report. I would also say that if I wear another hat, I'm also on the board of the River Keepers, so we have tremendous connections there to get that information out to the youth you were talking about earlier, and being involved in projects like that. I know that would be a great thing. And then there are various projects going on, sort of small-scale projects on living shorelines, those types of things, vertical oyster gardens, things like that, that Riverkeeper's involved in, JEA's involved in, Port's involved in, you know, various entities already involved in little projects like that to try to develop bigger projects at scale at some point. So that's my 2 cents.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pinto.
Any other academia before I move on to nonprofits? I was going to pick on Silas. Matanzas Riverkeeper. Any updates? Oh, Jen. Oh, yes.
Hey, y'all. So my name's Jen Lumberg. I am with Matanzas Riverkeeper, not to be confused with our partners over at St. John's Riverkeeper. A quick update on a project that we're working on. We are working on a project with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, to do a health assessment of oysters in our estuary. So looking for things like heavy metals, PFAS, pharmaceuticals. Obviously, oysters are great for living shorelines and shoreline stabilization, as well as being a tasty treat during the cold winter months. And so we're really excited to, it'll still be a couple months before we have the results from that back, but happy to share those once we have them.
Awesome. Any other nonprofits or organizations that would like to update? Yes, Heather.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Nagy with the North Florida Land Trust, but I also serve as the SASME Florida State Implementation Team Lead. So Farrah did a great job of talking about that earlier. We've been very busy at SASME over the last couple months, both at the state and the regional level. At the state level, we are working on finishing up our state roadmaps. So it's kind of similar to the RRAP, where it's outlining priority actions and sub-actions that will help to conserve and restore salt marsh, as well as conserve those marsh migration corridors. At the regional level, SASME is working on putting together what they're calling an impact report, essentially kind of an annual report to summarize all of the accomplishments and projects that partners have been working on over the last few years. So that's going to be coming out this summer. And we're working on some coordinated efforts to announce the launch of both the roadmaps for all 4 states as well as that impact report. So there should be lots of things coming out about that over the next couple months. And then we also have a Florida State team meeting coming up in March 12th. So if anyone is interested in getting involved or wants to know more, you can contact me and attend that meeting. I think that's it.
Thank you. Any other updates from the general group? Yes.
My name is Morgan. I work with Beaches Go Green. We're an environmental education nonprofit out of Jacksonville Beach. Right now, we have 18 student clubs throughout Duval and St. Johns County. So our biggest initiative right now is providing content and speakers for those clubs and trying to give them more opportunities to get involved in the community. We have noticed a drop in the number of members, as we were told it's not cool anymore to care about the planet, which is wild. So we're always looking for new ways to get these kids out there and skip the screens and out into the communities to really see what their impact is. And we're also doing, we're calling it Go Green Drinks Jacks. Once a month, we're doing a local meetup with anybody in the environmental community who would like to come in. We had one last night actually, but it's just to kind of talk about what your group is providing for the community and other ways to get involved and how to combine our efforts rather than everybody fighting for the same resources, whether it be monetary or people volunteers. So there's lots to do and lots to get involved, and we'd love some support from anybody else in the community.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. I thought there was another hand maybe in the back.
Just goes to show what the lack of Captain Planet means for the world.
Hi, everybody. Alec Jarbo, St. Mary's Riverkeeper, up there on the border. So last year, we got a large National Fish and Wildlife Fund grant to look at resiliency in our watershed, both sides of the border. So we're working with UGA to get a compound flood model incorporating both Florida and Georgia data. We're also doing some environmental DNA sampling on the endangered Atlantic sturgeon that breeds in our watershed. Still an enigma. I'm personally in charge of community engagement, so actually getting out, especially some of those more rural areas, getting them involved in our process. Ideally, when the whole thing is done, we're going to have 10 nature-based solutions identified for our watershed, if not more. Beyond that, we also just continue water monitoring. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that update. Yes. More.
My name's excuse me. My name's Ellie Brooks. I'm the co-chair of the First Coast Invasive Working Group, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this is National Invasive Species Awareness Week. And so our group works once a year to support weed wrangles throughout Northeast Florida. And so we just wrapped up some throughout our 5-county region area last Saturday, and we still have some more available for great community outreach, you know, whether it's a young crowd or, you know, just getting out there, bring your kids, you know, your neighbors, go out to state parks and go find an opportunity. You can go to floridainvasives.org and find a site that is supporting a weed wrangle, and that's a great way to partner within the community, your HOA, and neighbors, students. Really brings everybody together to remove these plants, invasive species plants, you know, out of these systems, our ecosystems, and then promote, you know, native and Florida-friendly species. So if anybody has questions on participating, collaborating, please reach out to myself or Jessica Spencer. She couldn't make it today with the Army Corps. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Brooks.
Yes, sir.
Brooks Andrews on the board for Greenscape. I'd like to mention a couple things, some things that just happened and some things that are just coming up. We moved our annual tree giveaway, which had been down at the stadium for many years, to UNF, and it went extremely well. We gave away 1,800 trees in one afternoon and one morning to residents of Jacksonville and beyond. So that was a great event. So lots more trees in Jacksonville. We're working very closely on the Canopy Initiative in Jacksonville, Greater Duval County. So we're very, very engaged in that. We've got 5 tree plantings coming up with various generous grants around the county. I hope we can water those trees. So I don't know. Maybe we, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, you watch. We also have our annual fundraiser coming up called the Root Ball on April 11th. It's a great event, lots of fun, so I'd encourage you to come out if you can. We have 6 board openings this coming year. So if anybody is interested in getting engaged with Greenscape, come and talk to me. I'd be happy to put your name in as a potential board member. That's a great opportunity. And I think that's everything I wanted to mention. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last call. Oh, yes, yes.
Hi there, my name is Scott Dye. I'm with Resource Innovations, and we are the implementers of JEA's fleet electrification program. So I'm going into my second year, and the first year was really successful. We worked with the city of Jacksonville, DCPS. Right now we're working with the airport as well. Essentially, we do a cost-benefit analysis that's paid for by JEA for what it would take for companies with 5 or more vehicles to convert to electric vehicles. And there's also up to $15,000 for infrastructure costs to put towards that as well for specific EV-related work. So very exciting, I think impactful work. The Climate Action Plan highlighted that transportation is our greatest greenhouse gas emitter. So I think there's a great opportunities there, and would love to collaborate or partner with anyone in the room here. Thank you.
Great, yeah, great opportunity. Thank you. Anyone else? Ideas? Okay, lots of things happening. Farah, do you want me to turn it over to you for the wrap? Okay, we'll just keep rolling. Oh, sorry, James, yes.
It is not an announcement, but James Richardson again with the Environmental Protection Board. I want to thank those who attended our annual symposium on the 13th. I want to put a plug in for February 12th, 2027. Mark your calendars now. So that you can be amongst the 370 plus people who join us for that. If you want information periodically, I'll send out something maybe on a quarterly basis on various activities. You can go to jacksonville.gov/EPB and sign up for general updates. That way you'll know when the next symposium is coming up and sign up for participating.
And I bet you've already started planning for next year already.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Take a
Not
little
yet.
break.
We'll
break.
be debriefing on the success of this year in a couple of weeks, and we'll kick off planning probably in June for the February event.
It takes a lot of work, and it's a really good event for those that haven't been to that, and it's very affordable for local governments to attend, and you guys do a fantastic job at that. So we look forward to next year. Mark your calendars. So wrap up as we kind of close out for today. We've covered a lot of information. You can digest all you want. We'll send slides out so you can go back through. There's a lot of survey links, it sounds like, and some follow-up that's going to be coming out through this. We appreciate your time and support and that input because that does help steering some of these initiatives that we've got. And it's also exciting that our Regional Resilience Action Plan, we are doing already things, and I think that was nice that Apurva, Farah, you guys tied in things that are already in motion and how it's linked up already to our Regional Resilience Action Plan. So there's going to be lots of work happening in the near future. And as far as like next steps, there's some information here. If you had any questions on things, you could always reach out to Farah or Apurva with questions and information. Some of the things that we had requested for a call to arms as far as next steps and information, things like that too. And also, I've mentioned the surveys, but also mark your calendars. Believe it or not, August will probably be here before we know it. But between now and then, we have some deadlines on our phase 3, the metrics and the funding and the resources that we kind of highlighted. I believe we have to have deliverables in by June 30th, am I not mistaken? So we're going to be doing a lot of work between now and then, our steering committee and all the other work that's kind of going with that. So there's a lot happening between now and our next collaborative. So we'll be able to provide more updates on all those types of things too. And again, thank you for everyone coming, taking your time out of schedules to be here. And I think that's everything. Right, thank you.
Oh, and they can stay.
Oh, you guys can stay and network.
Yeah, we have the room until 4:30.
The room until 4:30.
We also did record this meeting, and we'll be sending it out on a YouTube link as best we can, probably in the next week.